What's going on, everybody? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel. And today, guys, I brought in another fellow Philadelphia Eagles content creator here. A guy that's he's been producing content even longer than me. He's a guy that I saw back when I first started my channel. And kind of the exciting news that we'll bring to you today is this is a young man that not so long ago was playing at South Caldwell High School with none other than Dickerson. So, Philly Jim, let everybody know who you are and your channel and all that good information, man.
Hey guys, I've just been on here for 2 or 3 years, and I just make videos about the Eagles and everything. So any news, any stuff like that, that's the kind of stuff that I make. So it's pretty much all. That's pretty much all about Jim. Just a regular guy.
So Jim, you want to tell everyone? I told everyone that you played at South Caldwell High School, which is in North Carolina, but obviously that's not your full story, right? So do you want to let everyone know, like, your background, all that kind of stuff?
Well, it's a long story, but I grew up. It was a tough time. I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia, but then there was like a lot of bad situations going on with my parents, and my father had a lot of issues, so I had to go live with my aunt for a couple years. So I went to South Caldwell High School, and I played there when Butch Carter was there, and he was there for like 15 years, and he did a great job. And then Landon was coming in. He transferred from Hickory High School, which was another school that was in the area, and then he came over to us. And he really helped us out because, he was like a top tier, one of the top tier players that was being looked at by a lot of colleges. So he came over his final 2 years, and, he really helped us win some games, and we used him in a lot of situations. He could play any position on offensive or defensive line. They used him on special teams. They even used him as fullback, on fourth and short and stuff like that. So, Landon was a fun guy to be around, and I think he's gonna bring a lot of good things to this offensive line, and someone like Jeff Stoutland coaching him up. I think that's gonna be huge for him.
Yeah, interesting. So for you guys that don't know, Hickory's the big town out that. No, I'm kidding. In Caldwell County,
quote unquote, big town.
It's not very big, guys. It's a joke here. So if I remember correctly, Jim, and I'm broadcasting here in Greensboro, North Carolina, but that's northwest of Charlotte, right? Am I going the right direction? East, it's west, right? Northwest of Charlotte. So Landon Dickerson comes in, as you were just talking about. He's a kid that transferred in himself. He's a big guy. I mean, 6'5", 6'6", like 320 some pounds. Like, was he this kind of disruptive force even back in high school? I mean, was he literally picking dudes up and throwing around the way he was doing in college?
Yes, he was. I'll tell you one story. We were playing against Bandies. We were at home. And it's like I said, we played him on defensive line. We played him on offensive line. We played him on special teams. He was on kickoff, punt return. He was basically on the field every single snap. So we're kicking off on kickoff team, and then, the ball carrier's coming towards us, and then Landon literally picks the guy up, and he suplexes him like some WWE stuff, like body slams the guy, gets thrown out of the game. Got ejected. One of the funniest things I've ever seen happen in a game. I was just like standing on the sideline like, yep, that just happened. But he was pretty much just like a man amongst boys. He was dominant in high school. He could go up against even the best competition, and he was gonna make his mark every single play. And that's why he had a lot of guys that was looking at him, a lot of teams. So he was a great player in high school, and I always thought he could make it to the NFL based on his talent. But the one area in high school that he was lacking in was, I didn't know if once he gets to the college level, is he gonna grind? Because I think one of the biggest things that I've seen from Landon in these past couple of years is that he has matured so much. He has taken the step of being an accountable grown man, not just on the field, but in the locker room. And that's why Nick Saban and his coaches are always raving about him. So he has taken that step to be a leader and to be more accountable. And we can all say that none of us are the same people that we were in high school. Some people act crazy in high school, but then, it takes them a couple years to be in the real world. And then you see a lot of people mature. So when I was bringing up that stuff about his work ethic, no way a knock against him, because, not everybody was crazy with, Mamba mentality, Kobe Bryant type of stuff, when they're in high school. But Landon, he's a great person. He's a great guy to be around. He doesn't have you don't have to worry about any off the field issues. He never got in trouble. He never got anything like ISS or suspended from school for any reason. And he loves to help out his community. So he's done fundraisers down in Alabama. I don't know if you guys know about it, like his truck that had like the 2x4 on his bumper, but he raffled that off to help a fire department in Alabama. So I think he's going to do a lot of good things in the community for the city of Philadelphia, which I think is also going to be something to look forward to.
So we'll take us back to high school, man. I mean, Look, the fact the kid wasn't in ISS, he wasn't being suspended, like, hey, you took a different path to me already. Because I played.
Right. I had ISS a few times.
Yeah, I absolutely deserved what I got a few times. But take us back. Like, what kind of player was he? Like locker room guy? Like, is he a rah-rah guy? Was he like that in high school, or is he more of the quiet? Is he one of these dudes that maybe doesn't say much, but when he finally erupts, people listen? Like what kind of personality was he back in high school?
He wasn't like the rah-rah, like giving speeches and stuff like that. He wasn't into that. But I also wouldn't say he was like quiet or anything like that. I guess you could say he was like somewhere in the middle. He was more so like the funny guy in the locker room. Like, okay. He's like the life of the party. Everyone loves being around him. He's always joking around. He talks a little bit of junk on the field. But obviously he's able to back that up with the way he plays the game. But he was hilarious. And everyone loved being around him. So that's the type of guy he really was in the locker room. So, and I think the Eagles, all those guys, when you look at the Eagles, you look at Lane Johnson and Kelsey and Brooks, like these guys are really close to each other. So I think when Landon coming in, they're going to embrace him, and, they're really going to love having him around, and, they're going to be really good friends, I think.
Yeah. I mean, everything I'm hearing from, like I said, the funny thing was, Jim, is that we would have almost had an opportunity to have met, because I was supposed to go to one of your games and actually scout. I was supposed to scout that game, one of the games.
Could have scouted me.
Yeah, but I didn't. I ended up didn't go. And one of my friends that I know from the area went, and he was scouting down there, and he came back. And to be fair, Landon Dickerson was not on my radar at the time. Now, to be fair too, like the schools I were recruiting for, they had no shot at Landon. Landon was looking at Florida State and Alabama's and probably South Carolina, the usual suspects. I mean, State and UNC would have been lucky to have been in the conversation. To be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Landon was, he ended up becoming like this huge prospect, but it was just funny because, like I told you, like, I really wish now, looking back on it, as someone that could have had more input, I didn't take the opportunity. And the guy that I know that went down there, he was like, look, man, I didn't even really take notes, because all I did was take mental notes, because I wasn't really focused. I wasn't paying attention to, I didn't expect to see this kid out there moving people around like that. And I mean, he came back and started raving about this guy, and it put him on a lot of our radars. Now, mind you, like I said, generally speaking, when you go regional scouting, you don't know where you're going to be sent because guys, they can put you on a plane and they can fly you out west. They can fly you up north. They can send you anywhere they want to send you once you make that agreement, guys. I mean, there's no guarantee. And to be honest with you, there's complexity and there's layers to recruiting. And generally speaking, position groups have their own region that they're in charge of, and they kind of pull from guys they know from high school coaches and stuff to kind of scout areas for them. And I'll be honest with you, man, like I really wish I would have taken that opportunity because that would have been an incredible, opportunity of seeing a guy that was that highly regarded. Because most of the guys I was looking at were really the diamond in the rough type. I'm out there really doing my homework. I'm really looking at 1A and 2A ball, which, I mean, you get down to that level, guys, there's two-way players. They're playing both sides of the football. So it's really difficult to scout some of these guys when you get into that kind of scouting. But I mean, I find some of the things you said interesting about him being kind of more the proverbial joker in the locker room, that's about what I was too. I wasn't really a hype guy. I definitely could get serious, but I wasn't like that 24/7. I was more of a joker. Like I'd be trying to pull tricks on people and stuff like that, like trying to tie your cleats together, crap like that. I would do stupid stuff like that just to mess with people. Hiding your hat, I'd hide your helmet on you if you weren't paying attention. I'd do crap like that to you. So that way, when they call you into the game, you have to look like an idiot trying to find your helmet. But
that's the kind of stuff we used to do to the JVs at practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Throw all their helmets down the hill and things like that.
Exactly. Things that probably wouldn't go over so smoothly now in today's game, just because hazing and bullying it's a little different from when I was playing. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more strict from when I was playing. But I want to talk to you about another guy that we just signed today, and I want to talk about a general trend now. So we signed LaRaven Clark, who, I'll be honest with you, man, I didn't have a lot of notes on LaRaven Clark. I mean, I know he played at Texas Tech. He played at Texas Tech. I think he was there with Mahomes. And man, I was looking over some information on this kid, Jim. 6'5", 315 pounds. This kid has 36-inch arms. That's huge. That's a big, big man. 11-inch hands. I called in a friend to get a scouting report on him, guys, and this is what I got sent back to me about him. He's a mountain of a man. He's very hard to move. He's got a very large and strong upper body, and he's got tremendous lower body strength. He does not get beat very often on bull rushes. The problem is he has very poor pass pro fundamentals coming out of college. I don't know enough about his pro game yet, guys. I have to do more homework on that before I say what he is in the pros. But his footwork was bad. They saw times on the film where he was crossing his feet. Hand placement was really, really bad, and he was very susceptible to being beat by speed rushes. And the telltale game that I was given, guys, was to go watch the bowl game versus LSU where he gave up like 8 pressures. So they said that, very hard, very Jordan Mailata-like, right? A lot of raw athleticism here. Very big, strong guy, but very much a guy that probably needs a lot of technique work here. I will say that the 2 games, I did a quick little research on him. The 2 games he had the most snaps in, guys, was week 5 at Cleveland where he played 56 snaps. Week 12 at Tennessee where he played 55 snaps. I'm going to be real with you guys. He didn't grade out the greatest in those games, but listen, grades are arbitrary. I don't know how they formulate, how they come up with the grades, guys. I'm going to be honest about that. I have no clue. They don't share that. It's proprietary. I've asked. It's proprietary information. They don't want to give out because then they fear that other people will use their grading services to then start creating content around it and all that kind of stuff. So basically a sports media group. But what I can say, here's the definitive numbers, guys. In those 2 games, he gave up 9 pressures, 7 hurries, 1 hit, and 1 sack. I mean, the one thing I can say, Jim, is that you take Landon Dickerson, you take LaRaven Clark, man, that's some big boys beside guys like, Brandon Brooks, beside guys like Lane Johnson. Like, that's we're talking really big guys out there. Like, I'm wondering if we're going to see more power game out of Nick Sirianni. And look, I'm basing this off of really nothing than a hunch. It's just a hunch, guys. We've been primarily a zone, which really a spread zone concept is really what we've run in Philadelphia since, Doug was here, then definitely with Chip as well. I mean, there was some power game with Chip, but mostly a spread zone concept with him as well. I do wonder if we're going to see a little bit more power, man. I mean, you just look at the body types of some of the guys that are being added, and immediately I think to myself, like, these are guys that if you ran a power system, a power game. Yeah, man. I mean, you get behind these guys in those pads, like they could be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you're right because even with Jalen Hurts, ever since when he was in college, he's been really known for being an absolute monster in the weight room, and he's tough to tackle and tough to bring down. So I think bringing some quarterback power type of plays to the playbook, I think that's definitely a possibility. And some of the things that you brought up about this kid, a lot of it is just technique issues that need to be touched up. Hands, footwork, things of that nature. With a guy like Jeff Stoutland, he can get him in the right direction. I mean, look at what's happened with Jordan Mailata. Jordan Mailata never played football. He played rugby. And, they got him looking like a really good offensive lineman. And last season, he was really throwing people around and stuff. So, he came to the right situation. So, and I think this is a good move because it could provide some depth if things go well with getting him coached up. And, some guys need to be put on the hot seat because there's going to be a lot of competition on this team, which is something that Sirianni has been preaching about. So when you look at people like Matt Pryor, you need to step your game up or you're not going to make this roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I know some of you guys are saying like, hey, is that a good thing for Jack Driscoll? I think Jack Driscoll saved, guys. I think from what I saw, the majority of this young man snaps. And like I said, guys, I still got to break down film. So just hang tight. It's coming. I need time to do that, though. LaRaven Clark mostly played on the left side, although he has experience playing right tackle as well. He's played guard. He's played tackle. So, I mean, if you take what basically could be done from Jack Driscoll on the right side between guard and tackle, now you got LaRaven Clark. You can kind of do that on the left side from guard and tackle. So, I mean, definitely, I think is like what Jim was saying is that this seems like a competition move. This seems like this. This staff underneath Nick Sirianni, to some extent, guys, I get there's a little hyperbole to saying, oh, everyone's going to compete. Like, yeah, guys, we know that they're like, I mean, come on, like they're, if you got Tom Brady on your team, I don't care who your coach is, he's probably not competing for his spot. If he's competing for his spot, he's probably retiring. I get all that, but I will say this. Do these moves make you feel a little uncertain about the future of the offensive line? Like we might see disruption, like a guy like Lane Johnson, a guy like Brandon Brooks, looking at the cap situation, knowing that we're about to get to the June 1st, kind of deadline area where we can divide up that dead money over 2 seasons. Do you think that maybe they could be trying to supplement and prepare themselves for a future going forward, whether it's this season or next year?
I definitely think it's possible. Well, when you look at it, these guys are getting older. And Landon Dickerson was a pick that a lot of people were like, why did we draft Landon Dickerson that high? A lot of people were wanting us to take another position. But I'm looking at it like, look, guys, Jason Kelce, every year we talk about, is this guy going to retire? Is this guy going to keep playing? We don't know. So I think it's a smart move because Landon is going to be Landon could possibly start, actually. I could see him starting over, say, Amalu. So, and I think the long-term plan is to have him play center like he did at Alabama. So they're going to keep Kelce around until he's done. So I think that's a good move. And you have Mailata, who's coming along very strong. Dillard didn't really pan out because of injuries, but we'll see if he can get back up to speed or not. That remains to be seen. But the team has a lot of draft picks in the next upcoming draft. And we're going to keep our eyes on Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts because we want them to have him play the amount of snaps because we could be a team that has 3 first-rounders. And you could really get some top-tier offensive linemen. The best case scenario is Jalen Hurts really shows that he can be a franchise quarterback this year because that way you don't have to package picks to trade for a veteran quarterback or trade up for a guy that you like in the next draft class. You won't have to do that. You can just focus on building what other positions you need to build, and getting younger on the line is something that definitely needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's tough though, because like I look at it and it's like, on one hand, man, if you can plug and play some of these guys in for this year and next year. I don't know what it does for the long-term health of the roster. You know what I mean? Like, I think some guys we might need to start trying to move out and get these younger guys in the game so we know what we have going forward. But I'll be honest, man, it gives you a really good offensive line. If Lane Johnson is healthy, good luck finding a right tackle better than Lane Johnson. It's going to be a difficult ask. Brandon Brooks, I know that these guys have been injured the last 3 seasons, and it has been frustrating. I get it, guys. I do. But when they're on the field, man, it's really hard to upgrade over those 2 guys. It really is. I mean, I think we all know that Kelsey's time is pretty much coming to an end. I do think that he'll be the center this season. That's one thing I wanted to ask you in regards to Landon Dickerson and playing center. I've talked to a few people, and I know that Landon Dickerson really began his career as a tackle at Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim.
Yep.
But I think he started as a tackle out there. Hey, Lamont, I'm going to get back to this question, buddy. I'll get back to you. So if you look at Landon Dickerson playing tackle, right, you know, Landon's like 6'6", 320 himself. But he's only got like 32.5-inch arms, which is a little short for a tackle. I'm not going to say for a lineman. And guys, keep in mind, in real life, a guy with almost 33-inch arms has got long arms. That's not a small guy. But in offensive line play, when you're talking about tackles, Jae'len, I know you're in the comment section. Correct me if I'm wrong, buddy, but I think they look for 34 inches or longer from the tackle position. That's about the NFL precedent, if you will, for it. Not that there's not exceptions to the rule, guys. There are. But, I mean, the kid's still got really big hands. He's got, like, over 10-inch hands. It just sounds so wrong when you say this stuff, guys. That's why I hate about scouting and breaking down stuff. But Landon played a lot, you know, as a guard, too. And I think when he first came to Alabama, he played as a guard, and then they switched him over to center. Right. Do you think that Landon could, if he's healthy, and I don't know what his health is, but if he's healthy, could you see him being moved to left or right guard?
Absolutely. In fact, that's what I see happening. I see him. It depends on how things go with other guys in camp. However, I could see him. Because say Amalu, you know, as solid as he's been, he hasn't been the best guard in the world. So I could see Landon definitely coming in and starting at left guard, and then the long-term answer is to have him play at center, because that's probably the position he played the best ball at, is the center position. But he can play anywhere on the interior offensive line, and I think he could do a really good job. Yeah.
So in terms of high school, I don't remember, because like I said, I didn't get the opportunity to scout him, so I don't even remember. Did he play interior, or was he a tackle in high school?
He played mostly tackle in high school.
Mostly tackle.
And then that's why he started playing it at Florida State.
So I know it's kind of hard to judge that because you're a receiver and he's playing tackle, but
yeah,
how fast do you think he could make the adjustment to an NFL game? How fast do you think he can understand, you know, line slides and protection and things like that? Do you think that's something where maybe it's gonna take a little while for him to catch on to that, or do you think like, no, this is a studious guy and he's gonna catch on to that really fast?
Well, I mean, I think any transition to the professional level is going to take some time, but I think once he gets the grasp of things, he's going to come along really fast.
Fair. Yeah, and that's the same fear I have, is like, you know, there's a jump from high school to college, and there's clearly a jump from college to the NFL. And that's my only fear, is that physically, I think he's already more gifted than Kelsey is, although Kelsey's more athletic. But then again, I mean, you know, the man was just doing cartwheels, so who knows? Maybe he is more athletic than we think. He's not a guy I pictured, you know, pulling and moving and doing a lot of that, but I did see it. I mean, he had it on his film in Alabama. I did see it there. We'll see if it translates to the NFL, but I mean, that, you know, that's the interesting part to me, is that the thing that I think Kelsey helps is the fact that he's been there so long, and he just understands, like, he picks up the little nuances. He sees when teams are faking something. He knows when a team's an over and under. He knows what a linebacker's trying to do. He knows what the secondary is trying to do. He knows what the line adjustment's going to be based upon those things. Like, that's tough, man. That's a really tough assignment, but like, I do have faith that he could pick that up. But, you know, everyone's different, man. I don't know the time frame on that. Let me go back up here, guys. I'm going to answer one of the questions real quick before I forget it. Just because he said about Mike. So if I can disagree with Mike, I'll do that. So Lamont said, "Hey, Gay City, I asked Philly Mike this the other night. What about implementing a fullback in the offense? He said it was old school, but I seen San Francisco go to a Super Bowl with a fullback. True, but even that, we're talking. Well, no, I get what you're saying. It was only a couple of years ago that they went to the Super Bowl. Here's what I'll say. I think the modern game has replaced the traditional fullback with the F tight end alignment. So you could use guys like a Goddard. If we were to sign back like a Richard Rodgers can play that role. Those are guys that you can in theory use as lead blockers, or you can do some 2-back set stuff. And we saw in the Buffalo game what the Eagles did is they used Jordan Howard to clear the way for Miles Sanders. Like I would start with domino one on that one, Lamont, which is that we just need to be more versatile in the different formations we utilize, personnel packages we run in games. And until we can get to some 20, 21, and 22 man personnel, you know what I mean? Like we got to start there first before we even worry about then implementing a fullback into the offense. But like right now, I don't have control over the roster. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what they'll do. I can't really say. It's a really difficult thing to say. I mean, who knows? But I get what you're saying, man. I would just settle for a more physical running style period. Just give me back the days of when we were, doing some traps and we were running a Jae and we were running, more physical contact bounce backs off those traps. What we saw in 2017, which by the way, I don't know if you guys heard, but there's been a lot of murmurs and a lot of talk that all that stuff was really Frank Reich. Frank Reich is a guy that believes in a power run game. So, look, I can't definitively say that's what's going to happen here, guys, because Nick Sirianni is a separate individual from Frank Reich. But all I can do is hope that tutelage, that playing under him, coaching under him, not playing under him, but coaching under him has, come down for him. And he's going to follow some of those staples. We'll have to see, though, guys. I mean, that's really, really tough, man, to say.
So if we're going to run all those power type of plays, do you think that's going to work with like the type of running back that Miles Sanders is? Because he's not really like a ground and pound physical type of guy. He's kind of like he uses his speed and he gets on the perimeter and, they use him in the passing game and other things like that. So do you think that's going to work or not?
Maybe, maybe not. So, I will say that I think Miles Sanders, the one part of his game I thought that he showed that there was development was running between the tackles last season. I do think that even if you go back to college, Miles Sanders had a really good yards after contact average. I think it was higher than Jordan Howard's actually senior year. Like 3.84. But mind you, it doesn't make him a better contact bounce back than Jordan Howard. There's nuance. Like you got to know how many times he was facing 7-8 man boxes versus a 6-man box. Like, there's subtleties to the game. But I will say that, you get guys in here that can clear the way, your Brandon Brooks, if he's back healthy, your Jordan Malatas, right? Your Lane Johnsons, Landon Dickerson, when he finally gets implemented into the offense. Like, those guys can help a lot, man. They can definitely.
We missed them a lot last season. We really did miss them.
Yeah, and the other question will be is, and I guess we can get in this conversation because it, revolves around the offensive line to an extent. Look, the Eagles are out here making deals at the running back position, and I will say that I'm pleasantly surprised with the fact that they didn't just give up. So, kind of season ends, they give a restricted free agent tender to Boston Scott, okay? But they don't just say like, oh, we're bringing Boston Scott back. There's going to be no competition, right? Like they kept adding.
There's going to be competition at every position.
Yep. Then they bring back Jordan Howard. They re-sign Jordan Howard. They don't sleep on that. They say, you know what? We had those two guys at the end of the season. That really wasn't good enough. We got to hope that Jordan Howard can get reinstalled to the offense and everything is healthy. We're going to keep adding. Then we go into the draft and we get Kenneth Gainwell. And then just, about a week or so ago, we end up signing Kerryon Johnson. So like kind of on power runs and stuff like that. Miles Sanders, Kerryon Johnson built very similar. They're not very far apart in their body types at all. Jordan Howard, definitely more of a contact bounce back. He's, 6-foot guy that's about 225 almost. Definitely got to sustain contact. But yeah, I look at guys like Miles Sanders, Kerryon Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell. They're not going to be over there, stiff arm and running people over. But I don't think that these are guys that, can't carry the rock. I think you got to keep,
Right.
Miles Sanders. I don't want, I won't say you need Miles Sanders carrying the rock 25 times a game. I think that's a mistake. But I definitely think you can give Miles Sanders 18 to 22 touches on a routine basis. You got to snap count him a little bit, but I don't think you need to do it drastically. Like, you're not going to feed him like he's Zeke. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Clearly he's not Derrick Henry. He's not going to endure that kind of workload. The biggest problem I've had with Miles Sanders has really been the soft tissue stuff. It hasn't been any kind of like major injury. He's hamstrings, it's all the soft tissue crap. Which, I mean, that's another interesting conversation, Jim, which is, what do you think about that? About the fact that we've had so many soft tissue injuries over the past couple of years?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what I think about it. And I don't think this is something that gets brought up very often, but I think you have to think about the way things have changed so drastically from the Chip Kelly era to the Doug Peterson era. Now, what I'm getting at is, when we were with Chip Kelly, yes, he was obsessed with sports science. Yes, the players didn't like him because he wasn't really like a player's coach, but they also didn't like him because his conditioning requirements were kind of ridiculous. Even Malcolm Jenkins, when he was with us, he used to speak about how he thought it was a little ridiculous that they were doing so much conditioning. But guess what? Never had injuries. Chip gets fired. Doug comes in. Major injuries every season. So, there has to be a common denominator there. As far as, in my opinion, that's what I think the problem is. So I don't know what style Sirianni is going to do. I don't know what his practices are going to entail, but I think that's something people should think about. The conditioning, the way practices are going, the way guys are taking care of their bodies, and how that can relate to getting injured, because it really can have an effect on that. So I hope that Sirianni figures out a way to do his practices in the best way possible, so that we don't have all these major injuries. And I have a good feeling that things are going to change, and we won't be so concerned about losing all our guys to these major injuries like we had the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is that it's hard to judge between what were the practice habits. Were they too light, too crazy, too intense? I have heard some initial reports that some of the practices got a little over carried away, a little intense. Hard to believe that with Doug, but that's what I'm hearing. I don't know how true it is, guys. I'm not there, but we all know who that report's probably coming from, because it's the only person that was granted a coaching internship for the season who is not there currently and has a podcast. Like, it's not hard to put that one together. Who's probably spilling the beans there? But the other thing, like Jim, like I was saying, is I don't know what our strength and conditioning was. Like it's hard to say because we keep flip-flopping people coming in and coming out. I tried to get some guys on the channel to actually talk about it, but it's tough, man, because you're dealing with an organization, a corporation. There are certain policies in place for them speaking to, even though I'm not really the media, they'll consider it that way. I really would love to have someone come on and really talk to us about, because it's the thing is that we're not really given access to that side of the game. We don't know what they do to, like, okay, man, we know we have a history of soft tissue injuries. So what do you guys do? Like how, as a strength and conditioning coach, like, what do we do for our players to try to put them in, sometimes it's stupid luck. I get it. But what are we doing to put them in the best situation possible?
Yeah. I mean,
these things.
I can't really say that this can be dumb luck. If this was like 1 year of this stuff happening, then I would be, okay, that's probably is the case. But you have 2, 3, 4 years in a row where this is happening. There's got to be something that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we don't know what it is. Like you said, we don't know what it is. We don't know how things are being run with the strength and conditioning, with practices. We don't know this stuff. There's no way for us to know this stuff unless somebody leaks it, which probably isn't going to happen. But, it's just hard to assess that. Yeah.
Yeah. That exactly, man. I don't know how you assess it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know, Cognac Yang, my guy here, which by the way, I'm drinking some cognac.
Cognac.
But I get what you're saying, Cognac. I understand what you're saying that, like, look, man, some of this is personal responsibility of the players, but when it's this many, I got to question the training program. And I get what you're saying. Like, Wentz got hit, way over 50 times because he got sacked 50 times. And yeah, but Wentz had his fair share of injuries too, Now, I will say I don't recall Wentz ever having, maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to go back through the injury reports and look, but I don't recall him having soft tissue injuries. These were mostly much larger issues like the ACL and the back, crap like that. But I think he had the ribs his rookie year. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. It's really crazy to say what's happening there and like what's the problem and what's happening here. So Natiro coming in here with a good question, Philly Jim. Do you see Howie giving Sanders that second contract? I don't see him paying a running back a big bad value.
Not unless Miles Sanders doesn't want like a big contract. I mean, another team might be willing to pay Miles Sanders what he's looking for. So if that's the case, then the Eagles are gonna always do what they do, which is there's a couple of positions where you're never gonna see them take a player in the first round, running back and linebacker, especially linebacker, more so the linebacker position, but. LaShawn McCoy was a second-round pick. Miles Sanders was a second-round pick. And that's still decently high, but they weren't going to take like a Josh Jacobs in the first round. So if it gets to that point, then they're going to do their scouting and they're going to look at another position or another player to bring in at that position. So I hope that they would be able to work things out to have Miles Sanders here because I think he really likes playing for the team, and he's one of our young pieces that's really fun to watch. And when I look at this young core with Devontae coming in, with you have Dallas here and Miles, and even Jalen Reagor, even though people are gonna always be hard on him due to the Justin Jefferson situation. There's a lot of young guys that's really looking promising. So I would hope that they would be able to work something out if it ever got to that.
So you guys got me curious. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up and pull up the running back contracts for you guys because while Jim was talking, he gave me the opportunity to pull that up. So that way we can just be fair on like what guys are getting paid, and then that gives us a better chance of assessing it. We go to share screen. All right, yeah, we get it, man. And my Chrome tab. All right, guys, I'm going to pull it up here. Hopefully you guys can see it. So Christian McCaffrey is the highest paid guy. He's 25 years old. He got a $64 million contract in total value. Total value is different, guys, than what he's really getting paid. Guaranteed money was 36. Fully guaranteed was 30. And he becomes a free agent in 2026. He's getting about 16 mil a year on average. Now, mind you, average does not that just the back end of your contract can skew the actual average. Just keep that in mind, guys. Alvin Kamara is 26, $75 million total valuation. He's a free agent as well in 2026. He got $34 million guaranteed, total guaranteed, with 17 fully guaranteed. So not as much in the fully guaranteed part there for the Saints. Zeke 26, $90 million. With $50 million guaranteed, total guaranteed, with 28 fully guaranteed and a $15 million average salary. Dalvin Cook is 26. I like the age groupings because it makes it kind of easy that we're not seeing like really older guys here. 63 million, 12.6 million on average, 28 million total guarantees, 16.3 fully guaranteed. Let's see, Derrick Henry, 50 million, 25. 5 of that is total guaranteed. 25.5 is full. All of his, it's all fully guaranteed. Wow. 12.5 on average. Aaron Jones, 48 million, 13 million fully guaranteed. 12 million on average, 13 million total guaranteed. So his is fully guaranteed, basically. Joe Mixon's 25. He got 48 as well. 12 on the average. I'm just going to read the averages, guys. Melvin Gordon got 16 with 8 on average. 2-year contract, clearly. 13.5 guaranteed. Saquon got 31 with 7.7 average salary, $31 million guaranteed and fully guaranteed at that. And then Austin Eckler's 26. He got 24.5, $6 million. He becomes a free agent in 2024. I think some of these dudes might actually be on rookie contracts. So, Austin Eckler might actually be on a rookie contract, guys. I got to look that up. I don't know, but some of these really young guys, like Saquon did get a deal, so he got an extension. As I'm looking at these numbers, guys, I mean, you look at the average. Hey, man, it skews. It skews big time because he's under $1 million, isn't he? Let me take a look real quick, guys. Let me go down and find him. Marlon Mack, Jonathan Taylor, Kerryon Johnson. So Kerryon Johnson is the highest paid running back, guys. $6.5 million was his rookie deal, basically. Averages about $1.6 million. He's the highest paid running back on the Eagles roster currently. And then Miles Sanders has a $5.3 million contract. That's his rookie deal, guys. 1.3 on average.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends, guys. It depends on where he's going to fall in this evaluation, to be quite honest. I got to be real. I mean, some of those numbers scare me a little bit, Jim. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm okay with him. If he comes out and he shows that he's a real legit, number one running back, I'm okay with paying him just under what Saquon got in his extension. Like an Austin Eckler, between Austin Eckler and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, $12 million contract. He got a 2-year deal, about $6 million on average. Austin Eckler got a $24.5 million deal. He's earning about $6 million. So yeah, if he's around, I don't know, $6 or $7 million on average, and he's showing that he's like a legit number one back, I think that's one thing. But some of those deals, man, like CMC and Alvin Kamara.
I don't see Miles. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Now I'm listening.
I was gonna say I don't see Miles asking for like Derrick Henry area money unless he has like a couple of monster years, like back to back, 1,800 yards.
Yeah, I mean I was shocked at some of these top end guys and what they're getting paid. I remember the Zeke deal because I remember thinking to myself like $90 million at running back. Like, I hope he lasts another good 7-8 years for you. I think it depends on the valuation of the contract, guys. I'm okay with a 3 to 5 year deal that's 20-some million. Half of that or so is guaranteed. If it's a friendly deal to where you can keep Miles Sanders. I mean, the thing is that running back production is so easily replaced. But Miles, like I said, guys, I did the video today and I talked about it. Dave Sangaro did an article in December where he talked about from 94 to 2019, there were only 4 plays over 70 yards. The reason he did 94, that's as far as stat head will let you go. That's a big link to time, guys. We're talking over 20 years, like 25 years almost of history there. Since October of last year, Miles Sanders took 3 over 70 yards. Mm-hmm. He's a big play guy. He's a big play guy, but you got to live with the +3, +1, dead stop, -1, +3, +1. You know what I mean? You're going to get 10, 12 of those type of runs, and then he's going to break one. It just depends on, like how much are we going to utilize running backs? My biggest thing is it isn't even Miles Sanders' running ability. The soft tissue stuff scares me a little bit. Like we need him to stay healthy for games, but can he regain some of the magic as a receiver that we saw from him back in, 2019? Because that was, I didn't expect that from him. And if he can be that kind of guy in this type of system with Sirianni, then I think he's going to get paid. But, there's always going to be doubt in your head, right? Like, because they just don't pay running backs, and especially the Eagles. So we'll see. They might keep trying to just drafting guys and try to plug and play guys, veterans that they sign off the street and bring in. It's hard to say. You go back to 2017 and they wait till June to bring in guys. I think it was June that we signed LeGarrette Blount. Mm-hmm. So, they waited a long time in 2017 to sign LeGarrette Blount. And then, of course, we had Donnell Pumphrey from the 2017 draft, but, I know that the organization had high hopes for him, but he really played no role at all outside of maybe some special teams. And And then they made the trade for Jay Ajayi. So I don't know, man. I don't want to come on too strongly and say I think he is or is not going to get a deal. I think it really depends on, does he prove to be a dynamic football player? He's going to have to prove to be dynamic. And
I agree.
You know, if the Eagles look at Jalen Reagor, they look at Dallas Goedert, they look at, Devontae Smith, and they look at Miles Sanders, and they say, we want to keep this core together, he's going to get a deal. But I think he's got, I think he's got an uphill battle, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's, I'm not gonna say he won't get the deal, but let's be real. You can move on from running backs in this league. You can. So it's an excellent question, guys. I appreciate the question. That was an excellent question, but you know what I'm saying? What's up, Danny? How you doing, buddy? William said Miles needs to step his game up. Yeah, I agree, sir. Miles isn't good on short yardage downs either. Bobby, I think they need to give him more of an opportunity before I say that. They don't give him enough opportunity for it. What's good, guys? We got a GFAM20. Gate City, is Devontae Smith worth the 10th pick in the draft? Is he a gadget guy or a true number one? Oof, that's a deep question, G. This is what I'll say about number ones. That's perception. Number ones are perception, right? I don't think in this particular offense you're going to have a real true number one per se, because I think Nick Sirianni is a spread the ball around concept guy. He's going to get production out of his tight ends. He's going to get productions out of his running backs. He's going to get productions out of his receivers in the passing game. If I remember correctly, I don't remember any of those dudes being 1,000-yard receivers underneath Nick Sirianni and, that coaching staff there in Indianapolis. I don't recall any of those guys being 1,000-yard receivers. Now, I do think they had two or three 500-yard receivers last year. And then I think they had a tight end that was right around that area, and they had a running back right around that area. They're more of a spread the ball around concept. But get to some of the other question you asked there, G. Was he worth the 10th pick in the draft? I mean, that's a tough one to say, G, because only time can really tell you. I definitely had him graded as a top 12 player in the draft. But look, I won't front, G. They took a risk, man. They took a sub 180 pound player in the top 10. That's a risk. But I will say, man, his route running is next level. The kid understands how to separate. His route running makes you think that if anyone can beat that trend, it might be him. A gadget guy, I don't see him as a gadget guy. I think Reagor. So when I hear people say gadget guy, this is what I think of. There's basically subsections of receivers, guys. So if you think about it, like, kind of, let me straighten everything out here for you. All right. There's subsections of things. So if you look at it in a grid, you got the first two sides of things, which I'll call basically your alignments, right? So you have your X lines, you have your field side, so your boundary and your field side, and you have your slot, okay? Your boundary side receiver, I know that Nick Sirianni said that he doesn't believe in this concept. I'm saying he's full of crap, and he absolutely does. He's just saying coach speak here. Your boundary side receiver needs to be able to get off a press. Your boundary side receiver needs to have adequate wingspan because he's going to be in more tightly contested windows and catch points. Alshon Jeffrey, although he was not always an X-line receiver. Actually, Brandon Marshall played that role when he was young in Chicago. He did evolve himself into being that prototypical X-line receiver. It just, the health didn't hold up here in Philadelphia. I would look at a guy like Travis Fulgham. I would say Travis Fulgham is either an X-line receiver or a tall slot. Although I think Travis Fulgham can play all three alignments, but 80-inch wingspan, 6'1", 6'2", strong enough to get off a press coverage. He's your typical guy. I look at a guy like Devontae Smith is complex, guys. He's under 180 pounds, okay? But he's also 6'1", and he has like a 78-inch wingspan, 77, 78-inch wingspan. That's a big wingspan, guys. It's not quite 80 inches, but this is a lanky receiver, man. He's got good reach. I think that's what makes him such a difficult guy because his route running is so good, okay? His hands are pretty good. I'm not going to say they're great, but they're pretty good. And his just physical length and reach allows him to make plays on the ball that you don't think he can make. The other side of that, outside of alignment, guys, has to do with guys that either you have to create offense for, so gadget players, or guys that can create their own offense. I think Devontae Smith because of how good of a route runner he is a guy that creates his own offense. I think Jalen Reagor is a really good football player. I was high on Jalen Reagor. I will not back down on my stances about Jalen Reagor. I think that he's being underestimated. But you create offense for Jalen Reagor. Devontae Smith will create his own offense. That's the distinguishing line between those two for me. So if I had to choose between them, I think Devontae Smith can be a guy that could get more targets, more receptions. Jalen Reagor may have the bigger splash plays. That's kind of the way I look at those two. And then you got Dallas Goedert. You got to factor in here, guys. Like I said, all the running backs, that kind of stuff. It's complex, guys. It's never easy. And Jim, I'll let you weigh in on that because I know you played a little wide receiver as well in high school.
Yeah. Well, you know what? To answer the question, I do think he can be the best receiver on the team because I think what he brings to the table, a lot of our other guys don't. And I like Fulgham. I think Fulgham got done pretty dirty by the coaching staff when Jeffrey came back because he was playing very well. Reagor, I could see him being more of like a deep threat type of guy with his top end speed and everything. But, we don't have a guy that can run crisp routes like the way Devontae Smith can do it. He can run any route in the route tree. It doesn't matter who was going up against him. He was going up against some of the top guys in the country. In practice, he was going up against Patrick Surtain. He played against J.C. Horn. So you want to know something? This guy did it against the best competition. And he probably would not have had these numbers if Jalen Waddle had stayed healthy. But you still have to give him credit because Waddle goes down and he rises to the occasion. And he's like, listen, I'm here now. And he won the Heisman Trophy. And he had 1,800 plus yards. And in the national championship, he's really showing how dominant he was that year. So I don't think stuff like that just happens for no reason. So I got to say that I do think he could be potentially the best receiver on this team. The concern is his size, him being under 180 pounds. Everyone is worried that he's going to get smacked in the mouth and then he's going to get hurt by, a safety coming out of nowhere and blindsiding him or something like that. That's why people are so scared of Devontae Smith. But the game of football is played so much differently nowadays. They protect the quarterbacks. They protect the offense. And I don't see stuff like that happening anymore. Like, we can go back to Cam Chancellor with the Seattle Seahawks. Absolutely laid out Vernon Davis. We will not see a play like that happen because the rules have just changed so much. So I think Devontae Smith is going to make a big impact in his first year.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is I know what everyone's afraid of. They're afraid of Devontae Smith's weight makes people concerned about man coverage, more particular press coverage, with a jam technique being used, not match and mirror. Jim can tell you this. I can tell you this. I'm known as a quarterback, guys, but I played a lot of receiver. Believe it or not, you beat man press coverage mostly with your feet. It's mostly your feet, and you can there's different techniques, guys, that you can use to beat it. You can use a foot fire release. You can do the jab, the one-step jab. You can speed release, or you can do swipes. You can swipe the hands. There's different ways of beating man coverage, but it really begins with your feet. Getting your chin over your knees. It's about having proper fundamentals to beat that technique. And I got to tell you, Devontae Smith had a 96 grading against man coverage because when guys tried to jam him, he's very technically sound. Now, I'm not saying that the NFL, some guys might not get him, especially early on. They might. It's an adjustment. But I think the young man is very technically sound. And Jim, I mean, you want to talk a little more about that? If you want to talk a little bit about beating man press and like how it works as a receiver, I mean, the way I always taught my kids is it always starts at your feet. If your feet aren't right, you ain't shoulder width apart. If your chin's not over your knees, depending on what your release is, if you're speed releasing, you need to be in the right. You need to make sure your footwork is correct.
Right. I think you're absolutely right about all that.
One. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played high school ball. Like what a one-step jab is. I mean, look, there's so many different ways of beating it, man. But I just, I think if you're a receiver coach, you watch what's happening, you watch what teams are doing to your receiver, and then you work on that with that receiver to beat that technique. And to kind of topple in a little bit to what Philly Jim was saying, I'll give you another guy that's, look, man, he's not a lock to make the roster, but he's a really good route runner. John Hightower is a good route runner, guys. He is an exceptional route runner. He really is. He's very thin in the frame, though. So just like Devontae Smith, he's thin in the frame, and he's got to be better at the concentration area. There were far too many times he was far too worried about contact instead of looking the ball in. He's got issues between his hand and eye coordination and looking that ball in. I don't know if it's a test of heart. I'm not going to say that. I don't know the young man. The young man might be a tough guy for all I know. I don't know him personally, but certainly there were concentration drops on his film. Same thing with Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor, I don't think lacks a physicality, but I think he can disengage from games. That's what I noticed. Just a coach of me like, hey, man, what are you doing? You got to run through that route. Like, you can't pull up on that. You got to run through the full route. Like, you can't do that. It's stuff like that, guys. It's little small lapses. It's not, like I said, guys, this is not what we had underneath, like, not Press Taylor, but Carson Walsh. I mean, I was ready to lose my mind with Carson Walsh in 2019. That was the worst coaching job from a wide receiver coach I've ever witnessed. And look, Carson Walsh might be a bright young man. He might know a crap ton about football. He was not a position coach. Just like I'm going to say the same thing about Press Taylor. Might be a smart young man. He might know a ton about game planning and scheme design and route design and passing concepts. He wasn't a position coach. Those are different skills.
You left out my boy Mike Groh.
Oh, Michael Groh. I think Mike Groh got a bad rap, but same thing. He got in over his head too fast, and the Eagles organization, I don't think, was patient enough. I mean, I do think it got worse. I think it got worse without him in there. Without Groh in there, I think Doug, it was really bad with just Doug there. I also think Doug might have done some things out of spite, if I'm being honest. I don't think Doug is that bad.
Yeah, he was pretty stubborn.
Yeah, that felt like a spiteful job to me, what he was doing there personally. Because it's like, man, there's no way Doug's this bad. Like, this is not the same guy we've seen before. Like, don't get me wrong, Frank Reich clearly deserves some credit for some of the success we had, but
not
hey, man,
all of it.
You know what I mean? He was okay in 2018. I mean, you know, we had Mike Groh talking about he didn't know how to utilize receivers, which was like, aren't you a receiver coach? What do you mean? Like, figure it out, man.
That was brutal. That was one of the most brutal moments for me. I was like, you know, what is this guy even doing here? You know, you just traded a 3rd round pick for Golden Tate, and you're going to get up here and say, well, we don't know how to use him in our offense. And I'm like, aren't you an offensive coordinator? Like, you were a receiver coach, but now you're an offensive coordinator, and you don't know how to utilize people. That was pretty brutal for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough, man. Hang on. I saw another good question here, guys. I'm trying to get to some of these. Danny, tough question. No easy question tonight, guys, huh? All right. Danny said, this is a little off topic. It's not off topic, man. It's about the Eagles. But when does Jalen Hurts, or what does Jalen Hurts have to do in your eyes to establish himself as the franchise quarterback?
Damn, that's a tough question.
That's really tough, man, because we're talking about judging a young man off of 1 year and 4 games. And that's just an incredibly difficult task for any coach. I don't think it's about wins. I don't think it's about the offense ranking in the top 12. I don't think it's any of that to me. To me, I know this kid can play. I know this kid can play out of rhythm. Okay. I know when the play breaks down, he can make plays. I need to see him play in time with the offense, right? So what I need to see from Jalen Hurts is a better understanding of when a defense makes adjustments to you and what you're doing in the game plan. I need him to then understand our offense enough, which is a hard ask of a rookie with only a game or 2 experience when Dallas did this to him. But You need to know what they're trying to do, and you need to know how to manipulate and beat that new adjusted coverage they give you. So you got to know, like, where's my outlet? Like, okay, I see these guys are coming hot. They're coming hot for me. I need to know where my outlet is. I need to know where my check down is. Stuff like that, guys. It's just simple reads, right? And then, look, Jalen Hurts showed an ability to people make fun of guys at one read. I got to give credit to Justin Fields. When Justin Fields says, like, why would I, like, he told one guy, he's like, why would I go through 2 or 3 read progressions if my first read is open? Like, what am I trying to prove? If my first read is open, why would I not stay with what the offense is scripted to do? Like, I agree. I think Jalen Hurts showed an ability that when you scheme that first read open, he will throw an accurate football to that player. That he's got that down, right? I thought that if you were high-lowing, so if you're high-lowing a corner, right? So two route concept where you're high-lowing a player. I thought he was pretty good at executing that. He's got to get a little deeper into the third and the fourth read. That's harder to do, guys, because normally when you go 3 or 4 reads, and Jim knows this, that means you're full field reading. That means you're going left to right or right to left. You're full field reading if you're going 3 or 4 reads. Now, if you're running a flood concept, maybe you get by with a 3 read progression to the same side of the field. But most 3 to 4 read progressions are full field reads. Sorry, that's a tongue twister, guys, to keep saying constantly.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
Well, you want to know something? I think it's a very tough situation that Jalen Hurts is going into. And the reason why I say that is of a lot of young quarterbacks, they don't have as much pressure that I think Jalen has on them. Because I think Jalen has to come in and perform at a high level and really prove himself all in 1 year. A lot of guys have a rookie contract. They have 2, 3, maybe 4 years to show that they can do something, that they can be something. But the Eagles are in a situation where we could have, I mentioned earlier, we could have 3 first-round picks next year. So Jalen knows that if they like Spencer Rattler or I forget the guy's name from North Carolina, Sam Howell. Like one of those guys, they're going to go up and get him. They got 3 first-rounders. We don't know what's going to happen with the Deshaun Watson situation. But if he were to clear everything and everything's good, I would not be surprised if that was another guy they tried to pursue if Jalen Hurts does not show that he is the guy. And I think he is going to show he's the guy, though. And the reason why I think that it's just hard to bet against this kid because he's just built differently. If that makes any sense. This guy has such a strong head on his shoulders. He works hard. I think the things that he doesn't do well, he will make up for because he will consistently try to work on those things so he can get better at it. And, we heard him talking today. I'm not sure if you saw the press conference, but this guy is saying, listen, we know what people are saying. We didn't get to do what we did last year. So everyone on this team is hungry, and Jalen is probably one of the hungriest guys that we have. He's talking about not being named as a starting quarterback. A lot of people are upset about that. They're like, this team's not really giving Jalen Hurts the confidence that he needs. You're the star, you're our guy, we want to roll with you, is what people would prefer. But this guy's like, listen, I haven't earned anything. I'm not above the competition. Competition makes everybody better. He's been a competitor his whole life. He's been competing. This guy's been through a lot. When he was at Alabama, he was a winning quarterback. He only lost 2 games when he was at Alabama. One of the games was at the championship against Clemson. He gets benched. He comes back. He shows that he's a leader, and he leads the team against Georgia after Tua got hurt. And Bama's back in the playoffs. So I think this guy has all the intangibles that you want. I don't think he's going to be the best quarterback in the world, but I think he's going to play better, and I think he's in a better situation than getting thrown into the fire like he was last season.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys. So I kind of went over this a little earlier, but I'll do it again, guys, about the 43 under. So Natiro, he says, how will Kerrigan be deployed? I heard he would be the Sam in a 43 under. It's a very good role for him because he played primarily in Washington as a 34 rush linebacker. So he would have a lot of experience in that joker stand-up kind of role. So if you look at I know the comments that were said were regarding the tight end play and the fact that a really dominant Sam in a 43 under can shut down the strong side of the offense against run plays, and they can really beat up, the tight end on passing downs to an extent. Like, you only got 5 yards, you know what I mean? And you got to be careful with getting too handsy there, especially in today's NFL. But a 43 under defense, guys, look, you're going to you're going to have a nose, whether he shaded. So if he shaded, you're just talking about inverted. So whether you have a shaded nose or you got a nose that's directly up over the center, you got a nose that's going to be towards the strong side of the formation. So basically, when you're looking to identify an over for an under, you look for an over, you look at your 3 technique. So if your 3 technique is to the strong side, it only means that you're over. If your 3 technique is nose tackles to the strong side, and normally that indicates an under, basically. So you got your nose that's going to be towards the strong side of the offense, and then you got your Sam, who's normally going to be like right over that tight end. When you look at a 4-3 under, the dead giveaway for me as a quarterback, when I knew I was probably looking at a 43 under, is because that either the safety, so if you have a roving safety, think of Malcolm Jenkins, or you got a big, strong, physical Sam walking down, it looks like you're looking at a 52 defense. It looks like you're playing a 52 defense. That's what it looks like visually out across the field. That was always my dead giveaway. It's like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Like, yes, he's perfect for that role, Natiro. He's absolutely perfect fit for that role. Just got to wonder, though, at his age, I don't know what's left in the tank, guys. But I mean, if there's anything left in that tank, hey, man, he was once a really good football player, and I'll take a chance on him because I know everyone keeps saying Chris Long. I love Chris Long. Chris Long was such a good signing for the Eagles back in 2017. Kerrigan is a much better player than Long ever was. He's a more gifted pass rusher.
He's been a problem for the Eagles for a long time.
Yeah. So it's tough. Paul coming in with a question here. Let me pull it up, buddy. He says, does the addition of offensive tackle Clark, I believe his name is, hang on, was it? I got it written down, guys, because I had to ask.
LaRaven.
Yeah, LaRaven Clark. I had to ask for a scouting report. Does the addition of LaRaven Clark today say about the possibility of trading Andre Dillard? That crossed my mind too, Paul, but I don't think it's a guarantee. I definitely think that if LaRaven Clark is just showing the versatility to play left and the right side, play guard, and Andre Dillard still looks like a one-trick pony at left tackle only, potentially. They might dump him off, but I don't think it's a guarantee, man. But yeah, I mean, potentially that could happen. But I'll be honest with you, LaRaven Clark still, like, from everything I'm hearing, what I've read from the scouting reports, I haven't done a deep dive on this film yet, but the scouting report I got is really strong base, mountain of a man, 36-inch arms, 11-inch hands. He's a mountain. You're not going to bull rush this guy, but his footwork is horrible. I've heard that his footwork is horrible, and he's very susceptible to speed rushes. And Jae'len Williams was talking a little bit earlier, Paul, about him. He gave a pretty good breakdown of him. I think his comments got deleted because it kind of deletes comments, guys, after a certain amount of time, so I can't really pull it up. But Jae'len definitely kind of gave a nice little summation of him earlier. And then Paul came back. Yeah. And then Paul came back in and said, also, the signing of a defensive end or edge rusher in terms of trading Derek Barnett for a CB2. Maybe the Patriots for Stephon Gilmore.
I don't know about that.
That's tough, man. I think that the problem is that even though Stephon Gilmore, in my opinion, is a better player than Derek Barnett, the valuation of position is off. Young defensive ends are worth a heck of a lot more than older corners are, even if that corner is a much better player. Because Derek Barnett is still on the spectrum of being a starting quality young defensive end, I don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that trade valuation is adding up there. But the other issue is that Derek Barnett, look, I get what you're saying, Paul. Derek Barnett's on a 5th year, his 5th year option. We could technically lose him with nothing more than, compensation in return, right? A compensatory pick. Brandon Graham is playing on the last year of his deal, more than likely, right? Josh Sweat's on the last year of his deal. Kerrigan's only on a 1-year deal. So those 4 guys are really 1-year deals right now. They got 1 year left. I would assume we're going to sign at least 2 of those guys back. And I don't think it'll be the older 2. So I do think there's a chance for Derek Barnett to come back. But, I mean, we couldn't get a contract worked out with him this year. So I get the frustration. I get the doubt, Paul. I do. That, hey, man, we couldn't even get it worked out. What makes it better that with him potentially facing free agency that we could potentially get. I don't know, man. I get you on that one, man, but maybe. I'm not going to say a no, Paul. I can't say no to that they might not use him as a bargaining chip for a player, but that's tough, man. That's really tough. because then you're dealing with
the ideal situation would be to trade Zach Ertz, free up $8 million, and sign Steven Nelson. And I don't know, maybe Arizona would be an option for Zach because we could get Jordan Hicks back and then use the $8 million to go after Steven Nelson. That's what I would say would be the best case scenario as far as getting another corner.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's a nuanced point here, guys. So Jae'len saying, Gate, you can bull him, but you're going to have to go speed to power because his feet. So what he's saying is because his footwork is so bad, if you go to an initial rush of a speed rush into a power move, to a power rush, you might be able to get him because of bad footwork. You're certainly not going to, you're not going to swim move this guy. That's for sure. Unless I mean, footwork is footwork. No matter how big and how strong you are, I do agree with you there, Jae'len, that if your footwork is bad, you can be had. I agree with you there. I don't know if, look, I don't know how good Gainwell is until he gets on the field, guys. I would project him to be better than Boston Scott. Different frame, different body style. Boston Scott's actually a bigger physical back, believe it or not. I mean, people see him and see that he's only like 206 pounds, but he's like 5'6", guys. Like 5'6", 206 is big. That's a bowling ball. But I mean, look, he's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Yeah. Boston Scott wasn't anything special in pass pro. I think, I don't know. I mean, look, it's tough, man. That's a tough one. What do you think, man?
I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think I like Boston Scott, but people are saying a lot of good things about Kenny Gainwell, and he's also Fletcher Cox's cousin, which I thought was interesting too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to wait and see with this running back group.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys, we're getting ready to jump off here, but I'm going to do one last question before we jump off of here. I think I saw one in here I think is a really good one to kind of throw in here real fast. All right, yeah, we'll do this one. This is a good question. All right, so who's your breakout player on both sides of the ball for the Eagles?
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. All right, breakout player. Defensively. That's a tough one. I think defensively, I could see that. Here's the tough part. I think Hargrave could be the breakout player defensively just because of the attention that's going to be paid to the other players. And the fact that he's already a good football player that kind of was coming on at the end of last season. It took him a long while to get his feet under him, but he was coming on. I could see that one making a ton of sense. I could see him being much better and a much more, impactful player than he was last year for the defense. Offensively, breakout player. Easy money here would be Jalen Hurts just because of opportunity, but I think that's a little too easy. So what I'll say is that I think the real true breakout player is going to be Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert is going to have a lot of opportunities to really hurt teams because I think they're going to have to pay more attention this year to our wide receivers. I don't think you can zone in on our tight end play as much as you've been able to in years past. So I think he's going to be a guy that you can get the ball into kind of early, and his ability to just run you over, I think it could be a problem for teams to control him.
All right, well, I'm going to go on defense, I'm going to go with Anthony Harris coming over for the Vikings. I think that was a very underrated addition for our secondary. I think he can do some really good things. And he was playing really well with the Vikings, and he was one of the highest graded safeties a few years ago. So I really like that addition, and I think it's going to really bolster this secondary that really needs some help back there. And on offense, I'm going to go with Travis Fulgham. I feel like I said earlier, it wasn't the best situation to have him just get pulled when Jeffrey got back, but he was outstanding last year. He was really doing some good work there. And I think with this new coaching staff that's going to be working with these young receivers, I think Travis, Devontae, Greg, Jalen, a lot of these young receivers are really going to be able to shine this season.
Man, it's not bad picks, man. G Fam 20 coming in with the $4.99 super sticker, man. I appreciate you. I'll read one more comment, guys, and then I'm gonna give you Philly Jim's information again, guys, so you all can go sub him up. Jae'len Williams said, when Clark plays, he relies on his length too much. He is only strong head up on moving in one direction. I get what you're saying there, Jae'len. He doesn't finish a lot of blocks either. Yeah, his run blocking grades were pretty bad. His frame is what makes him versatile versus skill set. Yeah, he's a big guy. He's got a lot to potentially develop there. The development is the part there. So, guys, once again, guys, Philly Jim, content creator. He's been on YouTube for a long time, guys. He's been here longer than me. Northeast Philly native. Went to Temple University, right?
That's right.
Spent a little short time down here in North Carolina. A little farther outside of where I'm at. He's a little further west of me, guys, but he played high school football with Landon Dickerson. Guys, check out his channel. He's got a really good channel. It's spelled just the way it sounds, Philly Jim. No trickery to the name there at all.
Nothing
Jim, I
crazy.
coming on, man. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, buddy, and taking some time to talk.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, no problem. You guys in the comment section, guys, I appreciate y'all so much. And I'll keep trying to do 1 or 2 of these a week for you guys, all right? We're going to try to keep sticking to our Saturday schedule for as long as I can. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll see y'all on the next video.